We're recording.
Okay, so I am Liz Brensinger, the person on the left, and I'm going to start things off. I'm not sure, I think you all heard the introduction to us. I guess it just didn't get recorded, but to very quickly reiterate, we were avid organic gardeners turned avid organic market growers. We experienced all of the joys that come with being growers of wonderful, delicious produce. And we also experienced some less joyful realities that had to do with tools and equipment. True story, these shovels were found by Ann's late husband along the side of the road when he worked for the phone company, and these are actually the shovels that we used when we were growing. We also experienced what we fondly or not so fondly think of as killer tillers, pieces of equipment that we have yet to find a single person who loves. We got this idea that we would like to form a company that would provide tools and equipment that worked well for women. We both have backgrounds in health. Anne is a master's prepared nurse. I have a master's in public health. So we put some pieces together that we're not sure that others had, and that is the connection between tools and equipment and not just efficiency and effectiveness, but also health and safety. We were blessed to get 2 grants from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Those enabled us to really study the needs and desires and experiences and issues that women farmers across the country have with tools and equipment. And then we were blessed to work with a wonderful team of engineers at Penn State University. One of them, Aaron, I believe is on this webinar. He has since defected to the Midwest. But in any case, we were able to develop a shovel that is based on women's bodies, and this is our tiller that is, as you can see, coming soon. We've been saying that for about 4 years now, but soon is getting even sooner. So what we were asked to do today is to address some of the issues that people are no doubt facing at this point in the growing season, and then to talk a little bit about tools, since that is, after all, our shtick. So I'm going to now turn it over to Anne.
The first thing I'd like to do is ask everyone on the call if any of them have specific aches or injuries or pains or discomforts about this time in the year, and you can actually type them in the chat, and we'll try to answer those at the end of the session. What we identified as some real common issues that occur about this time of year, personally having experienced them and talking to other women know that they've also experienced them. One is backache. That's about as common in farming as any other serious injury or not so serious injury. Muscle cramping, sunburn, dehydration, stress, and feeling overwhelmed, which is not limited to mid-season. Okay, usually starts in the beginning of the season and doesn't go away till the end. Backaches are really, really common because of the type of labor that farming and gardening is. So one thing that we talk about a lot is prevention, and prevention is trying to prevent backaches, and that means that you're going to start before the season even starts. Then we're going to talk a little bit about treatment or relief for backaches. First of all, before the season starts, it's great to strengthen your body to get it ready for the season when you're really going to be out there putting long hours in. And we recommend stretching and strengthening and also yoga. For proper stretching, whether you're warming up to do exercises or warming up to go outside and to actually do some real strong physical labor, first thing we want to recommend is warming up. And you do that by, best of all, just running or walking fast in place, and that's just to increase your heart rate, the blood flow, so that you have good blood flow flowing to the muscles and flowing back from the muscles, carrying away lactic acid, etc. Perform balance stretching. That means what you do on one side, you do on the other side. Avoid overstretching, because that's when you can actually pull muscles, and that creates discomfort. We don't want to do that. So go slow, never bounce or jerk. And for goodness sakes, don't forget to breathe. It's really important. Sometimes we focus on our exercise so much that we forget to breathe. And we need that oxygen supply to really do that. Some of the benefits of yoga, which we highly recommend for prevention and also to maintain your flexibility throughout the growing season. So some of the benefits are it does maintain the flexibility. It promotes mindfulness, which we call being centered, being in the present moment, paying attention to the present moment. And the neat thing about yoga is anybody can do it. We also have some examples on our website of some stretches you can do, some exercises you can do. There's some video of some yoga that you can actually do now. So that site is listed on this page, and so you can just simply go to that part of our website and get that kind of information. It would take too long to go over all of the things that are included in that part. Okay, for those of you who are saying, I already have a backache, give me a break, some of the things that we recommend. If you notice that your back has suddenly got tight or sore, one of the things we recommend is alternating heat and cold. It can be a hot bath, it can be a cold ice pack. And then also consider over-the-counter anti-inflammatories. The one caution I would make is if you're taking an anti-inflammatory, a lot of times it relieves the backache and you think you're fine, and that sometimes can cause you to put more strain on your back than you really should be at this point. So just be aware that pain is actually our friend. It tells us when we're really hurt, but if you're countering that with something that takes the pain away, just be conscious of that. For chronically aching backs, where every knee you come in and you're just sore, warm bath, stretching, and consciously using your body when you're actually out working. The other thing which I cannot impress upon people, and this is really hard for farmers and market growers, is to vary your tasks and your body positions, because we have a tendency, of which I am guilty of going out and starting weeding, and before I know it, the hours have gone, and then I try to get up, and sometimes it's difficult. The best solution to that is kind of have a plan in your mind when you start working, and saying you're going to go out and I'm going to weed for half an hour, then I'm going to do some hoeing, or I'm going to do some pruning. That allows the muscles that you're using a chance to recover before you can go back and use them again. It also allows for circulation to increase, and so it maintains the blood supply to the muscles, and also your brain, by the way, which is important. The other thing that's important is to avoid awkward postures. As you can see in this slide, these are all awkward postures. And the next slide, we'll talk about what awkward postures include. Working with your hands above your head. You're actually weaker when your hands are extended over your head, so you're not able to lift as much with your hands extended up. Working with elbows above the shoulders, that's the same reason. You're not as strong. If your back is bent more than 30 degrees, that puts you at risk for a back injury. If your neck is bent more than 30 degrees, that means you're going to have a sore neck. And twisting at the waist. And twisting at the waist, if you combine that with lifting or pulling, that really puts you at risk for a back injury. Moving smart. One of the things that we offer is information on how to lift safely and generally good body mechanics, which are all designed to allow your body to function in the way that it was really designed to, with your back in alignment, using your strong muscles of your legs, and you can learn more about that on our website also. Muscle cramps often occur, especially in the summertime, especially if you're in positions that interfere with the circulation of blood to the longer muscles. But there are some things you can do to help prevent. One is to stay well hydrated, and that solves a lot of other problems. Eating right means that you're getting a lot of your trace minerals and nutrients, especially calcium and potassium. Varying your tasks, which we talked about as being very, very important, it helps prevent muscle cramps. Paying attention to ergonomics and Liz is going to talk more about ergonomics later. And stretching before working, and also stretching to relieve cramps if they occur. Some ways to relieve cramps. If you do get a cramp, usually they occur in your calf or your hamstring. Put weight on the affected leg, bend your knee slightly, or I kind of do an adaptation of that, but definitely getting up and putting weight on the affected leg. You can sit down or lie down, and then you stretch your leg out, and then gently pull on the tops of your foot, and I usually just grab my toes and pull that towards my head, and that usually allows the muscle to relax completely. Rubbing does not usually make the cramp go away. Sometimes it actually increases the intensity. Sunburn. Okay, sunburn is really all about prevention, and wearing a sun hat, long sleeve shirts, light colored clothing. And if you're going to wear sunscreen, we highly recommend that you look at this website, the Environmental Working Group's website, and they actually do research and evaluate the safety of sunscreens. And that's really important information to have. All sunscreens are not created equal. And they actually some can pose some health risks. Reliefs of sunburn, I probably don't have to tell any of you this, but a cool bath with oatmeal is very, very soothing. You can apply aloe vera. You know, you have your little plant. You take some of the juice from the aloe vera plant. That's very soothing. Vinegar cools it. Cool compresses also cools it. And drink plenty of water, because remember, a sunburn is a burn. Another problem that occurs in the summer, and lots of people have this and they're not even aware of it, is dehydration, especially when you're out working, and you're not really conscious of how much you're perspiring, which is your body's way of maintaining your body temperature. But prevention is really important in the prevention of dehydration. You take plenty of water, take it to the field with you, have a thermos, have cups there, whatever you do, but be consciously aware to drink as you are working in the fields. You also want to make sure you're replenishing your electrolytes, because you're not just losing water when you perspire, you're losing electrolytes. Some of the things that we recommend are homemade recipes for reclaiming your electrolytes, and usually they all consist of citrus, water, salt, and some type of sweetener, sugar, honey. The symptoms of dehydration, sometimes I swear I have these all the time: dry mouth, sleepiness or tiredness, thirst, headache, dizziness, or lightheadedness. Low urine output means you're not coming into the house to use the bathroom a lot. And then again, you want to replace the fluid and the electrolytes. Stress and feeling overwhelmed. Oh, well, that's something we're all familiar with. It's part of life. But some of the things that you can do to combat stress is start your day with something calming. Just breathing deeply takes you to a different place, because when we have our cortisols going, we breathe very rapidly and shallowly. So changing your breathing can change a lot more than just your breathing. Be aware of our thoughts, which is another way of trying to be present in the moment, of being conscious of where you are, what you're doing. Take time just to look around you. You're going to see something beautiful if you're out in the field. And also practice the serenity prayer, which I'm sure you all know, but I'll tell you anyway. It's grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
And on that wonderful note, just going to say a few words about women's bodies, women's tools. First of all, there are some common sense principles related to tools use. They should fit the user, and they should be truly ergonomic. And I want to caution you that there are lots of tools out there right now that say that they're ergonomic. Hopefully this little 5-minute presentation will help you be a really knowledgeable consumer and able to assess whether something really is ergonomic or not. Before I get into that, though, I just want to mention tools and gender. And I don't know how many of you instinctively would believe that gender matters with respect to tools use, but I can tell you that after lots of research, definitively it does. And this slide illustrates just some of the differences between women's and men's bodies. Let me emphasize, women are not in any way less than men, but we are different. We have different strengths, and we need to really build upon those. Probably the most significant difference between the genders when it comes to tool and equipment use is the top one, that on average women have 40 to 75% less upper body strength than men do. The strongest woman still does not have the same muscle mass that a man does, and so we just need to work differently. In terms of what makes a tool truly ergonomic, here are some principles. It needs to fit the user. Back in the day when blacksmiths custom-made tools for individual users, this wasn't a problem. But now we're in this industrialized age of mass production. One size fits all is absurd on the face of it, but in many cases you don't have a choice. So you want to get something that as much as possible fits you, your grip size, that it's not too heavy, that the length is appropriate for your body. A tool that's truly ergonomic should be easy to use, or at least as easy as a tool can be. You know, we always say that we did the best we could with our shovel to make digging easier, but digging isn't easy. So, you know, you want something that is as easy as possible to use, something that's comfortable, that works well, and that improves safety and health. So here are some of those quick principles that you can use when you're looking at tools to see whether they're right for you. One is you want to look for tools and equipment that allow your joints to remain in what's called a neutral, non-bent, non-twisted position. This happens to be a pistol grip at the end of a Dutch-made hoe that not only gives you great leverage, but also allows you to keep your wrist straight. You want tools that have grips or handles that comfortably fit your hands. And by the way, sometimes a slightly wider grip, wider diameter, is actually healthier and more comfortable for your hands, even if your hands are small. If it gets too wide, then, you know, that's another issue. But you want something that fits your hands. You want your back to remain as straight as possible. We cannot emphasize this enough. In this photo, you see Anne holding, again, Dutch-made hose. The interesting thing is the one on the left. You can see that her posture is not a healthy one. That's the same hoe head, but it does not have that wonderful extra long handle and pistol grip that the one on the right does. Intuitively, this may seem incorrect, but it is correct that even for women who may be shorter, having a nice, long, extra long handle like that is a great asset. You can get some equipment that's easily adjustable. So this is a wheel hoe made by a company called Valley Oak in California. It was an organic grower who decided to make a piece of equipment that worked well for him. The beauty of this is you can adjust the handle height without a tool in about 30 seconds. So you can have people of varying heights using the same piece of equipment and able to adjust it at a healthy height for them. You can find some tools that do come in multiple sizes. You can also still find some tools that are custom made for you. For example, we're aware of two websites, two companies that can custom make, I don't know how you actually pronounce this. I always say size, and some people say sites, but you can get whatever that tool is, custom made for you. You also want tools and equipment that are as light as possible. Nobody needs something that's heavier than it needs to be for the task. And also something that minimizes strain and lifting. What you see in the lower left of the screen is a tractor rapid hitch that allows you to disconnect and connect implements without leaving the tractor seat. So there's no wrestling with the hitch that so many people talk to us about. And you can also look at auxiliary handles that you can purchase to make your existing tools more ergonomic. This one is a D-grip that you can place, as you can see, midway down the shaft of a shovel or another tool. You can also get what we call T-grips or P-grips that can give you that pistol grip effect at the end of a hoe. And we wanted to end the formal presentation with another look at the beauty of farming or gardening or just appreciating being out there. And at that point, I guess we will open it up for questions. And I want to acknowledge, by the way, somebody suggested that Epsom salts staff is terrific. And we agree.
So I don't know if everybody can hear me, but I see that the kinds of pains people have been experiencing include back pain, joint pain, sore knees. Wondering if you have any specific things you want to talk about with that.
Well, joint pain means that you probably have to vary your tasks a little more to prevent stiffness. The baths are going to help with joint pain. It can be a precursor to the development of arthritis. You want to pay attention to that, which is basically an inflammation in the joint. And again, there are anti-inflammatories for that. But again, I want to caution you that if you take something for anti-inflammation, it usually is a pain reliever too. And that doesn't mean that your knees or your elbows or your shoulders are all better. It simply means that there's a pain reliever working, so you don't want to overdo it. And then if you have, there can be strains, in the shoulder, in the knee, and the best thing for that is to give them a rest. Those muscles need a rest. They need time to relax and need time for the lactic acid, which causes the pain, to be carried away. And they're all cautionary warnings that you need to do something different.
I could just throw something in about knees. It's much better to squat than it is to bend at the waist. I mean, bending at the waist is one of the worst things you can do, but squatting can take its toll as well. I recently started using a garden seat, and it basically gets me to the same height that I would be at if I were squatting, but it relieves that pressure on my knees. And as I get older, that kind of thing seems to be more and more important. I noticed that somebody asked for the names of the custom tool companies. There may be others, but the ones that we're aware of are Scythe Supply or Scythe Supply, and there's a company called Marug. We may or may not have links to those on our website, and I'm not quite sure of the spelling of Marug, but if you do a search for, custom built size, SCYTHES, I'm sure those sites will come up.
Great. We've had a couple of questions about bug bites also. I guess any natural preventatives that you're aware of?
Bug repellent you're talking about?
Yep.
Well, we don't recommend anything with DEET. DEET is effective in getting rid of, keeping bugs away, but there's also some negative effects from DEET. There are some herbals out there, and I don't know that I want to. But the one that we actually use is Badger, because it's made with organic substances and seems to work pretty well for us.
Although, let me just throw in that having recently visited Florida, it did not work so well with the incredibly hardy mosquitoes down there. So it does work better than not using anything, and it's worked well for us here. But I think for me, the message is that there's probably nothing that is not toxic that completely keeps bugs away.
There's also a good sort of reminder from one of our viewers about the ergonomics of working inside at the computer, and I was wondering if you have any suggestions for that part of farming, because the business part of farming is important too.
Well, we actually have, you can get these ergonomic, I don't know what you would call it. We have an ergonomic mouse pad which has an elevated area so that your wrist is actually resting on something.
And it's straight.
Yeah, and so it enables your wrist to be straight. And we have the same kind of a pad, ergonomic pad, that we have in front of the keyboard, so that we don't have to be holding our hands up or our wrists up. There's something, and the other, moving around.
It's varying your tasks again. To, actually use the mouse all the time. Some people get carpal tunnel from that. So it's having awareness that you don't want to do the same thing for long periods of time. So you want to vary the tasks.
How about hand cramps? Any?
Well, it's usually extension. Usually the thing for any muscle is to extend it, not to contract it. So it depends. If I have it in my fingers, I'll bend them back. In your thumb, I bend that back. So again, in the hands, you're going to get them in your fingers, in your thumb area, but to kind of extend them and just hold them in the extended position until that muscle lets go, and you can feel it. You can feel it let go. And that's why holding it for too long, and it might not be the best grip for you.
So I see that we are at 12:29, so it's time for us to wrap up. I wonder if, Anne, a couple of questions have just come in, and I'm wondering if you would stay on for a few minutes more to answer those quickly. One is about healthy eating suggestions or websites. Any suggestions there quickly, or is it on your website?
Healthy eating, no, but we could consider doing that. It's almost second nature, so I haven't even thought about that. Organic things are really, really good. Root vegetables are very good to maintain your trace minerals and elements, especially during the summer months. And it would take a whole seminar to even start talking about it.
Okay, next topic. I think it's time for us to sign off. So thank you, everyone, for attending. We'll try to address some of the questions that we didn't get to in the session in our follow-up email. So if you haven't already, please give us your email so we can send it to you. Our next webinar, the next Women in Ag Learning Network webinar, will be on September 16th. The topic is direct marketing meats, and it will be co-presented with the Niche Meat Processor Assistance Network. And it will help you if you fill out a cut sheet and identify questions to ask your butcher for maximum profitability for your direct market. And our presenters will be both a farmer and a meat processor. So thanks so much to Anne and Liz and everyone who attended with us.
Can I quick address a question that I just saw about?
Sure.
About the recipe for homemade electrolytes. You can just do a search online. Just be aware, though, as I'm sure you are, that just because somebody posts it, make them an expert. But what we find, if there's a lot of commonalities, and especially if you find sites with people who have some appropriate educational background, it's like Ann said, they pretty much all include citrus, water, salt, and some kind of sweetener. So if you just go online and do a search and just, we always look at the about link to try to get a sense of who's recommending this, and you can find good stuff out there from people who have worked in this field or studied this field.
So thanks again, everyone, and I just want to remind you again to fill out the evaluation, tell us what you want more of, and also to remind everyone that while we're referring to different manufacturers and companies, that the Women in Ag Learning Network and eExtension do not endorse any particular company or their products. Thank you.